more than one. Okay, and so it's a set of two or more inequalities with the same variables. So we've done system of equations, we're now going to do systems of inequalities. And so let's review how we graph an inequality. So if I look at this, this is in slope-intercept form, remember? What is my slope? 2. Very good, because it's always the number in front of the x. And then my y-intercept is what number? -1. So at -1, I'm going to put a dot. Slope of 2 means I'm going to go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Now, do we remember what type of line I'm going to use with this one? A dotted. Why a dotted? Right, since it's just less than and there's no equal to portion, you're going to use a dotted line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a dashed line in there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point on one side of the line or the other. Do you remember what always is a good point to use if we can? 0, 0. Okay, and sure enough, it's on one point of the line or the other. So now I'm going to plug 0, 0 back into the original inequality. So I'm going to plug 0 in for y, 0 in for x. So I end up getting 0 to be less than, what is 0 minus 1? -1. Is 0 less than -1 a true statement? No. So where am I going to shade? Left or right? Right. Okay. So now we've reviewed how we do one inequality. What we're going to look at is how we can do two. So this is where the colored pencils come in handy. So a good rule of thumb is to always start with a lighter color first. And we're going to go ahead and graph y is greater than -2x plus 1. So let's start with that. Y is greater than -2x plus 1. What's my slope here? -2. What's my y-intercept? 1. So I'm going to put a dot at 1. And a slope of -2 means you're going to do what? Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. What type of line am I going to use? Solid or dashed? Dashed. Okay. Now I need to pick one point on one side line or the other. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 0, 0. So if I plug in 0 and 0, let's see what I get. I get 0 is what? Greater than 1. Is that true? No, so which way am I going to shade? To the right. Now you want to do this light, when I say lightly, I mean not super dark. Okay, so do this a lighter shade right here.
So how do you know which side you should?
If it's true, you will shade on the side with the point. And if it is false, you will shade on the side opposite the point. So now I need to go ahead and graph my second line. And I'm going to graph it here as well. So what's the slope of my second line here? 1. What's the y-intercept? 3. So I'm going to come put a dot at 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and graph a slope of 1, which means what? Up 1 over 1. So now hopefully you've shifted colors. And am I going to use a solid line or a dashed line? Solid. Good. Okay. So now I need to pick a point on either side of this blue line. So once again, 0, 0 works well. So let's plug in 0 for y and 0 for x. So you end up getting 0 is 0 less than or equal to 3. Yep, so I'm going to shade on the side with 0, 0. So I'm going to shade on the side with the dot. Now, what do you notice about your graph? There's an intersection. That is your solution set here. Your intersection, and if you want to color that area darker than everything else, that area will be bounded by this. By that dashed line. And then if you want to, you could even add a third color and just go ahead and darken it. So what that means is every point in this pink shaded area will satisfy both inequalities. Yes?
Do we have to shade in the third color when we go right into
No, just as long as you do it dark enough where I can see where your solution is. All right, so far so good? Okay, let's go ahead and look at another one. Y is less than or equal to 3. What type of line is Y? Horizontal line. So it'll be a horizontal line at 3. Solid or dashed? Solid. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw a horizontal line at 3. Now, if it says it is less than or equal to, which way am I going to shade? Above or below?
above?
Above would be numbers 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, no.
Below, because it is
That's
less than. Okay. Okay. Okay, so are we ready for our second line? Our second line, we need to put this in slope-intercept form, so what am I going to do? I need to subtract x from both sides so that really I get y to be greater than or equal to negative x plus 1. What's my slope now going to be? Negative 1. Very good. What's my y-intercept? 1. Okay. So I'm going to put a dot at 1. And then a slope of negative 1 means you do what? Down 1 over 1. Solid or dashed line? Solid. Very good. Okay, so now we need to pick a point. What point works? 0, 0. So let's plug in 0 and 0. And I end up getting 0 to be greater than or equal to what? 1. Is that true? No. Okay, so which way am I going to shade?
Right.
To the right. So my solution is actually right here. Questions? What do you think so far? All right, let's look at the next one. What do you notice about the next one? You have to work it out. They're not in slope-intercept form. So what am I going to have to do on that first one? Subtract 2x. So let's go ahead and subtract 2x from both sides here. So my new equation will be y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 2. What's my slope going to be here, folks? -2. What's my y-intercept? +2. Very good. So let's go ahead and plot +2. And then let's go ahead and draw a slope of -2, which means down 2 over 1. What type of line? Okay. So let's plug in 0, 0, and what do I get?
The 0 is greater than 2.
Is that true?
No.
Nope. So which way am I going to shade?
Right.
To the right. So let's go ahead and subtract 2x on the next one. And I get y to be less than -2x plus 4. What's my slope? -2. Very good. What's my y-intercept? 4. So I'm going to put a dot at 4 and a slope of -2. What do you notice about this line? It's parallel to the first. Very good. I'm also going to use a dashed line. Okay, so now we need to figure out which way we're going to shade. So let's put in the point 0, 0. I get 0 as what? Is that true? Yes, so I'm going to shade. So what is my solution going to be here, folks? What's my solution going to be? Remember, the solution is what's shaded both ways. The thing that's in between. So it's kind of like what's in the middle. That's what's shaded both ways. Okay? So you've really got that dashed blue line, that solid yellow line, and then what's shaded in between. Now, let's refresh again what that means. That means that any point here in the pink will satisfy both of those inequalities. All right, our last problem is not going to take us very long to go through. Y is greater than 3. So when I see Y, that means what type of line? Horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to do a horizontal line at 3. Oops, let's try a. So there's my horizontal line at 3. Let's go ahead and change that to yellow since that's my first one. Which way am I going to shade, above or below?
Above.
Why above? Because it's greater than 3, right? This is a greater than sign. So this means you're going to shade above 3. Okay. Let's look at the next one. What type of line will the next one be? Horizontal at 1. Which way am I going to shade on that? Below. Uh-oh. What happens? What happens there? That's a no solution. Good call. Because there is nothing that's shaded both ways. Nice job catching that. Okay, so that is a no solution. So you have your assignment. I already have it on that sheet that I gave you. It's on section 6.6, page 374, 10 through 24 evens. Now let's refresh our memory. Tomorrow you're going to have a worksheet over this. Thursday, review, test Friday. Okay?
So this is Tuesday, Thursday.
Well, yeah, pretty much. We'll probably answer any questions tomorrow if you have any.